wisest man in Athens, lived under a system we now call sacred. And yet, he saw it not as freedom, but as a subtle, elegant path to ruin. He saw democracy not as rule by the people, but as the rule of a dangerously distracted majority. Socrates did not fear the tyrant. He feared the crowd. He feared us. We are taught to believe that having a voice is synonymous with having wisdom, that every opinion, equally weighted, will somehow, miraculously, lead to the common good. But you have felt the unease, haven't you? That quiet anxiety when the sheer volume of opinions drowns out the quiet voice of truth. You witness the political circus, the loud slogans, the easy promises, the appeal to the basest, quickest emotion. And in that moment you feel a deep intellectual shudder. You know instinctively that the most complex problems are being solved by the simplest, most emotionally gratifying answers. Socrates felt this exact fear, not a political objection, but an emotional dread. The dread of the unexamined life suddenly being put in charge of the unexamined state. He saw democracy as a vast sea vessel, suddenly being navigated not by the skilled captain, but by a majority vote of the seasick passengers. The fear is the same now as it was then, the feeling of watching something precious and complex being steered by whim, mood, and noise, the quiet pain of knowing that the loudest voice rarely belongs to the deepest understanding. What if the problem with democracy isn't the leaders we elect, but the low demands we make of ourselves as voters? The core of Socrates' critique was rooted in a profound psychological observation about skill and flattery. He argued that voting is not a random intuition, but a skill, a highly difficult one that requires training in logic, ethics, and a deep understanding of history and human nature. He asked, if you were ill, would you ask the crowd to vote on your medical treatment? No. You would seek the single, wise, trained doctor. If you needed a ship built, would you take a public poll on naval architecture? Never. You would find the skilled craftsman. Why then, he wondered, should the most crucial task, the steering of the entire polis, be entrusted to the untrained, the unconcerned, and the easily distracted? This leads to the great psychological danger, demagoguery. A populace that has not mastered the skill of voting cannot distinguish between a statesman and a flatterer. The statesman speaks harsh truths that require sacrifice and a long-term vision. The flatterer speaks easy lies that appeal to immediate desires, vanity, and fear. Psychologically, democracy, for Socrates, created a perfect market for the flatterer. Why work hard to cultivate true wisdom in the citizens when you can simply tap into their unexamined prejudices and be instantly elevated? The danger is not the system itself, but the predictable human nature that exploits it. The system becomes a mirror of the mob's own lack of self-control. The greatest threat to a democracy isn't a foreign army, but the internal laziness of its own mind. Picture the trireme on the stormy sea, a magnificent ship carrying 1,000 souls sails across the volatile Aegean. The waves crash high. The air is thick with salt and dread. On board is the captain, the sole person trained for decades in navigation, weather, and the ship's structure. He knows the direction of the hidden stars. He knows the whispers of the wind. But the captain is often quiet, serious, and speaks of difficult, unpleasant truths, rationing, difficult maneuvers, shared sacrifice. Now, Imagine a demagogue passenger rises up. He is loud, charismatic, and promises immediate comfort. "Throw the rationing overboard," he cries. "Sail directly toward that easy, sunlit island. The captain is boring. He is elitist. He speaks only of sacrifice." The passengers, tired, hungry, and fearful, vote. They cheer the flatterer and throw the true captain into the sea for being a troublemaker. They elect the demagogue who gives them a temporary party until the ship inevitably hits the unseen rocks. Socrates saw Athens and any democracy as that very ship, a magnificent vessel, ruined not by external enemies but by the passengers' own self-serving ignorance. The moment they valued feeling good over being well led, the great shipwreck became inevitable. The hemlock Socrates drank was not just poison. It was the taste of the system he warned against. The irony of Socrates' death, condemned by a democratic jury for corrupting the youth, is the most potent historical evidence for his own fear. He became the victim of the unexamined, fearful majority. His fear teaches us a vital, timeless truth. Freedom without wisdom is the fastest road to tyranny. Democracy, when practiced by a passive populace, does not elevate the best. It simply empowers the most emotionally manipulative. The solution for Socrates was never to abolish the vote, but to elevate the voter. The only true safeguard for the state is the virtue and the examined mind of the individual. The purpose of living, the telos of the human experience, is the relentless pursuit of knowledge and virtue. When we abandon that personal pursuit, we cannot expect our collective system to sustain itself. To be a citizen, for Socrates, was to commit to being a philosopher. Our modern political anxieties are merely the echo of Socrates' warning across 2,500 years. Whenever we feel the cringe of a public spectacle, the panic of short-sighted policy, or the frustration of mass distraction, we are simply hearing the rattle of the unexamined ship heading for the shore of popular ruin. The dignity of a democracy rests entirely on the intellectual courage of its people. We must not mistake the right to vote for the responsibility to think. The choice is not between democracy and dictatorship, but between a state of self-governed thinkers and a nation of guided children. Socrates' fear was never of the system's rules, but of the human heart's complacency. He died to show us that the greatest danger is to receive immense freedom and respond with indifference. The true defense of democracy is not found in the ballot box, or the law, or the noisy debate, but in the quiet rigor of the individual mind. For the ship of state will always be safe only when every passenger has chosen to live the examined life. The greatest political failure is the unexamined life of the citizen. The consequence is a society that will inevitably vote for its own destruction.